Doesn't stretch very far. Sorry. Okay, so anybody that would like to ask a question, what we're going to ask you to do is there are aisles here. We'll have you line up at the end of the aisle, and then a memory keeper will direct you to the microphone. And if you could state your name, where you're from, and then ask your question to the panel, that would be great. Oh, and Brandon says no spoilers.
Specifically about A Memory of Light. I know some of you have copies that you found in unauthorized locations. And so we want to stay away from any spoilers about this book. Spoilers about the other books are probably okay, though if you can circumlocute, if you can talk around without giving too many specifics, that might be better. But I figure if you're here, you probably read most of the series. I'm sorry, but there's going to probably be some spoilers. So yeah, let's go ahead and do questions and answers.
If anybody wants to ask a question, line up here.
Don't be shy.
My name is Kevin Butler. My wife Diana is back here, and I met her when she was reading The Dragon Reborn. And even though I was going out with her roommate at the time, I was wondering if now that you've had a break from writing Wheel of Time for a while, if you're going to consider the Outriggers novels. And we'd love to hear more about that.
I think I'm the villain who should answer this.
And I understand.
There will not be Outrigger novels. Robert Jordan left a total of 2 sentences about the Outrigger novels. He had expressed horror of people sharecropping in his universe, and this would have been such a thing. And I figured my darling husband would come back and do terrible things to me. So there won't be any Outriggers. And it's a pity. It would have been fun to see Sharon.
Thank you.
The Chuncha. Cool t-shirt.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Snedeker. I'm from Colorado Springs. I have been reading the series for about 10 years now. Love it. My question is to Brandon. There is a notable difference between you and Robert Jordan's writing. I was wondering what the biggest influence that you had on the books. Like, what were your main thoughts that you added on top of Robert Jordan's?
I usually shy away from saying too much about this because we prefer that when you read the books, you not spend a lot of time trying to figure out what was me and what was Robert Jordan. It's safe to say that at any given point in the book, you will find my influence and his influence. That said, I've said before, the epilogue of this book, and significant chunks of the last little part as well, but the studio of the epilogue was written by him before he passed away, so you do know that. Things I've said before, and I'm probably not going to say much more than this, at least until the books have been out for a while. In Gathering Storm, if it was Egwene's plotline was more Robert Jordan. And Rand's plotline was a little more me. We both were involved in both, but there was that. And if it was The Towers of Midnight, Matt's plotline was more Robert Jordan, and Perrin's plotline was more me. But it's really hard to get down into specifics because I don't want you focusing on that. And beyond that, I've even started to forget. Because I've been working on this. No, really. You guys laugh about that, but I've been working on it so long, I will do things, and it's things that came out of the notes. And then I'll go back and look and have forgotten that those came from the notes, because at this point in the creative process, you're building a book, and you're looking for the inspirations from the stories or from the notes, and they're kind of sometimes the same to me, whether it's the notes or the stories. And so, anyway, I'm sorry to give you kind of a roundabout non-answer to your question, but maybe in another year or so I can say a little bit more. But really, we would rather it just remain, we don't want it to be at the forefront of people's minds when they're reading.
All right, thank you so much.
Quick change. Hi, my name is Justin Ellis. Read several of your novels. Now that you're at the top of your game, Brandon, what do you want to do? What would you do if you weren't a writer?
I'd be laying in the gutter somewhere, unable to produce anything valuable for society. I don't know. I mean, I was always targeted as a writer. My mom sent me to school to become a doctor, but that was never going to happen. I don't know. I mean, I went through even my grad program. All the other grad students were like doing all this work to go get PhDs and stuff, and I didn't do any of that. I was writing books only. And if I hadn't sold a novel, then I don't know. Maybe I'd still be working at the hotel. Graveyard shift I worked at for years, writing books overnight. I wanted to be a writer, and I put pretty much everything into it. I would probably be teaching English at a community college somewhere, and still writing 2 books a year without anyone ever reading them.
And playing a lot of Magic the Gathering.
My name is Anthony Gould. I've been reading the series quite a bit. I've read 1 to 13 10 times. And so I actually planned to read Memory Light 10 times in a row before I read any of the book. So just so I have something to say instead of saying I read every other book 10 times, I read this one once. That'd be better. But yeah, so my question I think is directed at Harriet mostly. I was thinking, well, is the character Matt Calthon, did Robert Jordan base that character on him?
Maria was saying something earlier today that would suggest, would you think he did?
Somewhat.
Somewhat.
Okay.
Would go for that. He told somebody, I think more than once, that all the female characters were based on me. In the same way, I think perhaps he based all the male characters on him, including Pat and Fane.
Some traits he had in common with Matt. There's one point Matt's talking to Oliver about turtle shells, and Matt was thinking about a turtle shell. He had Robert Jordan had a shelf of turtle shells in the office, and he did like to play cards and other games. There were aspects of Jim and Matt.
And to quit a job as a civilian engineer working for the United States Navy in order to write fiction, if that isn't the act of a gambler.
Hello, I'm Brian Hill from near Seattle, Washington. And first I want to thank Harriet for your courage and generosity in bringing this to us after the loss of Thank you.
Thank you for wanting it.
2 things. If circumstances had been different, would Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson get along, and would they be friends? and second, with this, now that it's all written, as he looks down, is he proud? And what would his thoughts be tonight?
Oh, I think he'd be proud. I think he'd be proud. And I do think he and Brandon would have gotten along.
One thing that was really strange, the first time Brandon came to Harriet and Jim's house restaurant and sit down and talk and everything. And so Brandon came, we ordered from one of the same restaurants. He ordered what Jim ordered without any hints or anything. He sat in Jim's seat. It was kind of like, wow. It felt like it was meant to be.
Thank you.
Harriet tells a story, at least on the Gathering Storm tour, someone asked a question like that, and she said, back then you said, she thought he was probably up there and looking down and saying, "Who is that kid?" And then kind of nod his head and say, "Yeah, it turned out all right."
I think he's definitely saying that now.
My name is Drew McCaffrey. I'm from Fort Collins, Colorado. I've been an absolutely huge fan of the series for 11 years now, and I just recently graduated as a creative writing major, and I'm a writer because of the Wheel of Time. My question is in regards to a debate that I've had with my cousin and a couple of my friends for a while now. Is it possible for a channeler to be tied to the Horn of Valley?
I think I'm going to have to say, that's a really good question. I honestly can't see why not.
Ha!
But I would really love to do some research before giving an absolute definitive answer. I can't do that right now.
Would Luce Theron's soul be tied to the horn?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Absolutely.
He was recognized, but was he tied to the horn? Do we have confirmation of that? Or did they just know him? See, he's trying to trick us into saying things.
Maria's saying she'll have to look it up and post it.
Well, thank you very much, all of you, for being here tonight.